The 2022 NBA season has had so many different intriguing and exciting storylines to follow that there's almost too much to keep track of. A ton of teams and players have broken out, trades and free agency signings have flipped the league on its head, and the continued growth of young players becoming stars they were destined to be has continued as well. That last one actually brings us to the topic of today's video, where we'll be discussing 4 young players in particular that came into the NBA with fairly lofty expectations, only for their careers to start a bit slowly. Then now this season, they are finally emerging into the players we all knew that they could be. Not every player enters the league and immediately dominates as a rookie or even a second-year player, so it's important to have patience, because when you do have patience, it can be rewarded like these 4 players we're about to discuss can prove. Before we start though, I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. PrizePicks is the perfect service for all of us basketball fans here, because when you're involved, it makes watching games every night so much more fun and engaging. Basically, it's an application that provides you with lines on all kinds of individual player props, such as points, rebounds, assists, 3-pointers made, amongst others, and you simply have to choose whether you believe they will record over the set amount in the line or under the set amount in the line. Make your selections, wager however much you want to, and if your picks hit, you can win some big money. For some picks that I'm looking at making for today's slate of games, I'm thinking of going with all Sixers, with Joel Embiid to score over 30.5 points, James Harden to dish out over 10.5 assists, and Tyrese Maxey to make over 1.5 threes. If this sounds at all intriguing to you, then go use the link down in the description of the video to sign up today, and use promo code REFERENCE to receive a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. Once again, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the topic at hand. The first young player finally starting to live up to the hype that we'll be discussing this season is RJ Barrett of the New York Knicks. When most people think of the 2019 NBA draft, they think of Zion Williamson and Ja Morant being the first 2 picks, and then they imagine a huge drop-off after that, which is unfortunate, especially for RJ Barrett, who was selected 3rd overall that year. He was the #1 recruit in his high school class, had already been dominating internationally for Canada, and played alongside Zion at Duke, but when he got to the league, his career has had a lot more ups and downs early on than those other 2, at least on the court. Even early on this year, I'll admit that it didn't look like he was going to be someone who would qualify for a list like this, but ever since the turn of the new year, RJ Barrett's game has elevated to another level, and he's finally looking like the star in the making that he was drafted to be. From the season opener through the final game played in the calendar year of 2021, RJ Barrett was only averaging about 15 points and 6 rebounds per game, while shooting just 40% from the field and 32% from 3. However, since the turn of the new year in 2022, RJ Barrett's numbers have skyrocketed, averaging about 24 points and 6 rebounds per game, while shooting 43% from the field and 40% from 3, improving drastically as an overall scorer and as a shooter from deep. His aggressiveness has been night and day. Just watching him play, he's confident with the ball in his hands attacking the basket, and he seems to be settling into the go-to role in the offense that Knicks fans have wanted to see him in for a while. So if he keeps this up, he can definitely become an all-star in the near future. The next young player finally living up to the hype that they entered the league with is Tyler Herro of the Miami Heat. Herro's journey to the NBA has been the definition of turbulent, as he started as a player drafted in the lottery that a few draft experts labeled as a reach. He then had a fairly strong rookie season, capped off by an outstanding performance in the playoffs as the Heat made it all the way to the finals during the bubble. He then went into last season with a ton of expectations to break out into a star, but instead he only made marginal improvements across the board while shooting a bit worse from deep. So entering this season, the hype died down a little bit, which probably helped him out, because there was less pressure on him. The Heat this offseason also made a big signing in Kyle Lowry to help orchestrate the offense and bring balance to the team, so Herro could focus exclusively on bringing a scoring punch off the bench, and this year he has been nothing short of phenomenal in that role. He's far and away the leader for the 6th Man of the Year race, because off the bench he's scoring over 20 points per game, while shooting 43% from the field and 38% from 3. The Heat have a top 5 5th-ranked defense this season, which has been at the core of their success currently, sitting in first place in the Eastern Conference standings, but if they didn't have someone who could create offense at the rate that Herro has been, then I can confidently say that their season would not be going how it is right now. The Heat have a higher net rating with Herro on the court compared to when he's on the bench. He tends to close out games despite technically being a bench player, and he's come up huge for them down the stretch countless times this season. And because of that, we can comfortably put him on this list and say that he has emerged. The next young player finally living up to the hype this season is Miles Bridges of the Charlotte Hornets. Bridges was a lottery pick back in the 2018 draft, and his explosive athleticism has always been what drew people towards him. The issue, though, was that he needed a lot of polish offensively to harness that explosive athleticism and turn it into actual production, and it took him a few years to do that. On top of that, he struggled defensively, and being a 6'6" forward, he was stuck as a bit of a tweener, not really knowing whether he was more suited for the small forward position or the power forward position. Last season, we started to see him grow into being more of a true power forward as he got even stronger, held his own at the 4, and started to shoot the 3 ball at a much higher level, and this year he's put it all together to be an all-around scoring threat. This year, he's scoring about 20 points per game and grabbing about 7 rebounds per game while shooting 48% from the field. He's much more confident as a scorer off the dribble, he attacks the basket hard and uses his athleticism to good use, and he still poses as a threat from deep. And not only is he one of the leading candidates for the most improved player race, but he's also an important piece of the Hornets' core moving forward. And finally, the last player finally living up to the hype this season that we'll be discussing today is Anthony Simmons of the Portland Trail Blazers. Simmons is another player who wouldn't really have been on this list in the first half of the season, but because of how the Trail Blazers season has gone down, with Damian Lillard being out for the year and CJ McCollum getting traded away, he has had the opportunity to step into a lead role, and lead he has. He came into the NBA as a late first-round pick, but so many scouts saw him as a player with massive upside. He was one of the youngest players in his class and actually came to the NBA after a postgraduate season of high school instead of playing in college or overseas, so that somewhat worked against him. What was always clear was that he was a talented playmaker, but he needed to put on a lot more muscle to withstand the rigorous NBA season, and as is the case for most young guards, it took him a while to get used to the physicality and pace of the league. This year, though, when the opportunity for him to shine presented itself, he has made the most of it. Ever since stepping into the starting lineup, which is a sample size of about 25 games, he's been averaging about 23 points and 6 assists per game, while shooting it incredibly efficiently at 46% from the field and 41% from 3. He's made it so the Blazers can be more comfortable transitioning to a rebuild if they so choose, and either way, his future is incredibly bright. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the future of these players. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.